If you or a loved one are struggling with type 2 diabetes, you should visit the link in the description below. This clinically proven, drug-free program lowers blood sugar to a normal level and can completely reverse type 2 diabetes within just a few weeks. Here's today's video.
The question, what can one do to get completely healed from diabetes? Answer by Michael Simpson. There are several forms of diabetes, but the ones that are most frequently discussed here on Quora are type 1 and type 2 diabetes mellitus, abbreviated T1DM and T2DM, respectively. T1DM is caused by an autoimmune disease that causes the immune system to attack insulin-producing cells of the pancreas, which leads to high blood glucose. If blood glucose remains high, it can damage several organs, including the kidneys, and eventually the patient dies, very painfully. It is not known what causes the autoimmune disease, but the best evidence is that it is genetic with some trigger like an infection. At this time, T1DM is not reversible, and can only be managed by regular insulin injections. There is a lot of research into reversing T1DM, but none of it very promising. There are pancreas transplants, but the risks associated with that are much higher than controlling blood glucose with insulin. There is a vaccine that is in phase 2 clinical trials that blocks the autoimmune disease, and potentially, it can reverse the disease. However, I'm rather skeptical of the research, as are others, and we're at least a decade away from knowing if it can work, and get FDA approval. T2DM is a completely different disease with the same issue, high blood glucose. But it is generally, but not always, caused by lifestyle issues, obesity, poor diet choices, and sedentary behavior. It is very difficult to reverse. It can't be cured. T2DM. It requires the patient to get their weight down to a healthy BMI, below 25, to eat a diet low in carbohydrates, and to vastly increase their physical activity. Needless to say, this is extremely hard, but it works. Most people have neither the willpower nor desire to do this, so the disease is rarely reversed. Moreover, even if you do this, it's temporary. Go back to your old ways, and the T2DM will return to its full glory. The T2DM can be managed by oral and injected medications, including insulin, but unless the blood glucose levels are carefully managed, the outcomes are poor. And these medications are not a cure. Bariatric surgery has outstanding success in nearly immediately reversing T2DM, but it's a harsh choice. Essentially, your digestive tract is rerouted, or, using the alternative type of surgery, 8,090% of your stomach is removed, which reduces your food intake. For severe L months, all you can consume is around 600,800 calories per day. Some morbidly obese people eat that much in a snack. But, it's not a cure. If someone had that surgery, and still forced themselves to eat 2,000 or 3,000 calories high in carbohydrates, it's back to T2DM. Note rarely, some T2DM patients are actually skinny, eat properly and exercise a lot. They have a form of diabetes that is just beginning to be understood. That's probably incurable too. Answer by Michael Hennigan. You can't be completely healed with current technology. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease where the insulin-producing cells are destroyed at the onset. Even when a patient has an islet cell or a pancreas transplant, the autoimmune process persists, so even with anti-rejection drugs, over 50% of patients will need insulin again within 3 years after transplant. Type 2 diabetes at its foundation is insulin resistance, but on top of that, on average, half of the insulin-producing islet cells are dead on day 1 of diagnosis based on autopsy studies. With diet, weight loss, exercise and drugs, the insulin demands of the body can be brought into line with the residual insulin production capacity, but as soon as these are let up, the glucose climbs again. Additionally is a process called apoptosis, progressive death of the remaining islet cells. Sadly, diet and exercise have never been shown to be effective in altering this, though that may be limited by compliance. Of the available drugs, insulin has been shown not to alter apoptosis. However, there is data in animals and limited data based on autopsy studies in humans that metformin, pioglitazone, and the GLP-1 drugs can prolong islet cell survival. This is general medical knowledge and not intended to be specific advice for any individual. Consult your physician for advice specific to you. Answer by Jerry Curry. With all the examination on diabetes and advances in diabetes medications, it's enticing to think somebody has most likely discovered a diabetes cure at this point. However, actually there is no cure for diabetes, neither can type 1 diabetes nor type 2 diabetes. in spite of the fact that way of life changes can accomplish abatement in type 2 diabetes at times. In any case, there are medicines, including straightforward things you can do day by day, that have a major effect. Is there a characteristic treatment that can cure diabetes? No. Regular treatments, for example, profound stomach breathing, dynamic muscle unwinding, guided symbolism, and biofeedback can help calm pressure. Also, enthusiastic pressure influences your glucose levels. So figuring out how to unwind is imperative in dealing with your diabetes. Supplements don't cure diabetes, either. Some regular supplements may interface perilously with your diabetes solution. Others have been appeared to help enhance your diabetes, however dependably check with your specialist before taking any supplement. Be suspicious about cases of a diabetes cure. A veritable cure will have been tried over and again in clinical trials with clear achievement. What way of life changes can enable me to deal with my diabetes? Despite the fact that there's no diabetes cure, diabetes can be dealt with and controlled, and a few people may go into abatement. To oversee diabetes adequately, you have to do the accompanying: deal with your glucose levels. Recognize what to do to help keep them as close to typical as conceivable consistently. Check your glucose levels as often as possible. Take your diabetes medication routinely. Furthermore, adjust your sustenance consumption with medicine, workout, push administration, and great rest propensities. Plan what you eat at every dinner. Adhere to your diabetes eating design as regularly as would be prudent. For any medical and diabetic supplies, you may check this website: Diabetes Supplies Products by Medical.com.